Hey everybody, welcome to Bible class. Today, we are actually going to go on a bit of a field trip. We're going to talk about a promise that God made to Abraham that was huge. Absolutely astronomical whenever you think about how many descendants was Abram supposed to have. So, we're going to go stargazing. We're going to go out, like I said, on a field trip. We're going to consider this promise that God made to Abraham. Let's get to it.
Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, boom, ba 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 boom.
So tonight is an interesting night for a couple of reasons, actually. One of them, today is actually December 21st. It's what we call the winter solstice. What does that mean? The winter solstice is the day whenever there is the shortest amount of light and the longest amount of dark. That's the way it is every single year. So it's the northern point of the earth is pointed as far away from the sun as it gets. Also, today is a day that I think they're called astronomers are calling the Great Conjunction. It is a day that, as far as I can tell, hasn't been seen for at least 400 years. So it's not in our lifetime, and it's only recently in the lifetime of history whenever we had telescopes. So what is the Great Conjunction? It's actually Jupiter and Saturn, and they are becoming very, very close together. Hopefully we're going to be able to have a shot of that for you to be able to see. They should appear as one big star because they'll be close, so close together. Now, I'm out away from the city. Normally I live in the city where there's a lot of lights, and the lights make it to where you can't really see the night sky and the stars and things like this. So I've come out here because for our lesson today, we need to be able to see the stars because of something that happened. So I want you to look at the night sky above me, and I'll show you a video of that. There was a promise that God made to Abram involving the stars. I think it would have been even more impressive for Abram to see this promise than for us. Because whenever we live in DFW, if you go outside at night and you look up at the sky, you can see a few stars, mostly the moon, but you can't see that many stars. But if you think about the days of Abraham, there wouldn't have been lights like we have today. The electric light is a new thing. So whenever you go outside, it's totally dark, and that means the light that I see only comes from the sky. So those stars in the dark night sky become even more brilliant and bright. But I want to read you this promise. It's from Genesis chapter 15 that God made to Abraham. 15, 1 through 6. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Look up at the stars. Count them, if you can. So shall your offspring be. Think about what we're looking at for just a minute. Up in the sky, where you can see these stars. How many stars can you see? I don't know that I can really count them, But even more than that, not just how many can you see, how many stars exist? I did a little bit of research on this, and just in our Milky Way galaxy, which is our solar system, has one star, the sun, that we know, and the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, and then we have a galaxy around us called the Milky Way. Just in our Milky Way galaxy, there are 100,000 million stars. Kind of a weird number, but I know that it's a huge number. From what I understand in the observable universe, in other words, what we can see with expensive and huge telescopes that can see a long distance, there are 1 billion trillion stars. To be honest, that's a number that I can't really understand. I don't comprehend it. I can't figure out how many that is. And I think that's the point. The idea is, with God promising to Abraham, you can't even begin to count the number of descendants you're going to have. Look at the stars. You can't even begin to count it. Now, if it were me, looking at these stars and thinking about my descendants, I think I would struggle to believe that promise. After all, it's a huge number of stars, a number that I don't even comprehend. How could all those come from one man? And especially from one man who doesn't even have a single child of his own flesh. To be honest, I relate very strongly to this, because it would be like God telling me that I am going to have descendants as numerous and uncountable as the stars. But I don't even have one child. And I may never. It would be hard for me to believe if God said, you're going to have descendants as numerous as the stars. But Abraham did believe. He believed in spite of the physical evidence to suggest that he may never have a single descendant, because he had faith in God. Now, I had a crafting activity for you to do. We're going to work on putting together. But as I've thought about it, I think a better thing for you to do, find somewhere, and I'm going to put a link in the description of this video of a list of places that are supposed to be good for being able to see stars. Find somewhere you can go with your family and go look at the stars, the wonder of the creation. Spend some time looking at them. Fortunately, right now it gets dark fairly early, so you can actually go see the stars without having to wait until, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. But go look at the stars and think about God for just a little while and His power, the fact that He created everything that you see. And He did it simply by speaking. Let there be stars to fill the sky. Day 4, sun and moon and stars galore, right? And He created, by speaking, more stars than you can possibly count. God, in fact, made good on His promise to Abraham. God made it so that actually you don't even have to be a flesh and blood descendant of Abraham from his bloodline in order to be one of his descendants. We can be descendants of Abraham because we follow in the footsteps of faith of Abraham. Jesus, He said, I tell you that out of these stones, God can raise up children for Abraham. God doesn't have limitations like you and me. When He makes promises, even when they seem impossible, He keeps them. And I'm thankful because He promises you and He promises me salvation. And He does it through Jesus, the Christ. And He will make good on that promise. So thank you for coming to Bible class today. I hope that you have enjoyed getting to spend some time considering the night sky, the stars, and the promises that God made to Abram that seemed impossible and that He makes to us to save us through His Son. Hope you have a great Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday.